trash. We see transformation. In this video, we're turning forgotten scraps, stones, shells, metal, and more into bold, beautiful garden art you'll want in your own backyard. These aren't just ideas. They're invitations to create, to repurpose, to reimagine the space around you. Welcome to Verdant Dreams, where discarded things find new life. This episode is packed with trash-to-gold garden ideas for small spaces, tiny yards, and cozy patios. Timestamps are included so you can jump to whatever sparks your curiosity. And if something here moves you, or even just makes you pause, drop a comment. I read every word. You don't need much to create something beautiful. Just heart. And a little belief. To you, I may be just another voice on the internet. But behind this content, there's a real story, and a family chasing a quiet dream. This isn't just a tutorial. It's a piece of what keeps us going. Every subscribe, every share, it breathes life into what we do. If this video inspires you, imagine what your support could do. Thank you for watching. Thank you for seeing the value in what others might throw away. There's something magical about walking barefoot on painted stones. In a tiny front yard nestled between hedgerows, pastel pebbles form a delicate ribbon that winds through a garden alive with color. Each stone, once discarded and dull, now wears a soft shade of joy, like a muted whisper of candy hues underfoot. They are not loud. Not flashy, but gentle, calming, and sweet, like watercolor memories from childhood. This garden does not scream for attention. It invites you. The pathway, though short, feels endless in its charm. On either side, the blooms lean forward as if eager to greet passers-by, yellow marigolds buzzing with bees, soft purple asters waving in the breeze, and bushy chrysanthemums bobbing under the golden autumn light. The scent in the air is warm and familiar, a mix of earth, petals, and distant falling leaves. Beneath a small flowering tree, a weathered bench rests. It holds no one now, but the warmth of the sun and the scattered petals say someone sat there recently, perhaps with a book or a memory. These pastel pebbles were once forgotten, tossed near roadsides, hidden under shrubs, or mixed in broken gravel. But now, through gentle hands and a painter's touch, they've become the heart of a garden. A bridge between the wild and the curated. A handmade path that leads not just through flowers, but into a feeling, one of calm, comfort, and quiet joy. A feeling of home. And in that transformation, from rough to round, from gray to blush, the stones teach us a quiet truth. Even the smallest, dullest things can guide us toward beauty, if we're willing to see them differently. Tucked into a forgotten garden corner, beneath the whispering shade of a tree, something unexpected grows, not by seed, but by soul. A cluster of stone mushrooms rises gently from the earth. Their caps, once rusted bits of discarded metal, have been lovingly painted in hues of warm red, creamy ivory, and sun-baked terracotta. The stems are worn river stones, stacked like time itself, imperfect yet strong. They don't pretend to be real mushrooms. They don't need to. Their presence alone conjures a story. Perhaps a fairy lives here, or a wandering squirrel once built a home among their bases. Perhaps a child dropped a trail of painted stones long ago, and nature simply chose to honor it with blooms and shade. The surrounding bed overflows with marigolds in deep gold, purple asters soft as velvet, and thick patches of moss that creep like whispers between the stones. In the distance, Japanese anemones sway softly, catching the late afternoon light like dancers mid-curtsy. No voice speaks here, but the colors sing. This is where trash finds its dignity. Metal that once served machines now shades tiny beetles. Stones that once lay forgotten in gutters now stand proud as garden sculptures. They don't scream for attention, but you will notice them, eventually. When you need quiet. When you seek warmth. When your eye, tired of perfection, is drawn to the humble and handmade. And in that moment, these stone mushrooms will offer more than just visual charm. They will give you wonder. Because isn't that what we crave in a garden? Not just plants and pots, but stories. Not just growth, but grace. And maybe that's the secret of these mushrooms. They remind us that even in stillness, even in scrap, there is magic waiting to bloom. At twilight, when the sky turns lavender and the world softens, something remarkable begins to glow beneath the chrysanthemums. A line of golden stones hugs the edge of the flower bed, each one brushed with warm metallic hues, catching the light like coins in the soil. They don't shout for attention. Instead, they glimmer gently, reflecting the golden hour and guiding your eyes along the path where nature meets artistry. These stones were once dull, discarded in the forgotten corners of driveways and vacant lots. But now, repainted with care and placed with intention, they've become something more, a quiet chorus of warmth that wraps around your garden like a soft scarf in fall. Behind them, marigolds bloom in vivid orange and gold, as if cheering on their radiant neighbors. Sedum spills like green lace between the petals, while asters rise proudly in hues of royal purple. Together, they create a painter's palette brought to life, bordered with light and love. As the sun begins to dip, the soft glow of solar lights placed behind the stones flickers to life. It's subtle, not theatrical. But in that warm halo, the garden breathes. Children tiptoe barefoot down the path, chasing shadows. A cat curls beside the bench, lulled by the fading warmth. And you, perhaps with a cup of something warm in hand, watch it all, knowing that beauty doesn't have to cost much. It only asks for care. This golden rock border isn't just a design. It's a gesture. A reminder that even the most ordinary elements, rocks, light, color, can come together and create something extraordinary. Something that feels like dust caught in motion, like peace sculpted into shape. And as the night begins to settle, the golden glow lingers just a little longer, like the memory of a kind word or a quiet moment that stays with you long after it's passed. Along the fence line, where flowers meet the edge of the world, lies a trail of sweetness, though not one you can eat. Painted stones, plucked from forgotten places and transformed with joy, sit like candy drops at the garden's feet. Bubblegum pink, lemon yellow, mint green. They gleam in the morning light, each one a tiny burst of happiness pressed gently into the soil. The fence they border is modest, whitewashed wood, a little chipped from time, but these stones elevate it into something magical, something whimsical. Like the candy path in a childhood storybook that leads not to a witch's house, but to a corner of the garden where memories are made. The flowers behind the rocks bloom in harmony with their playful neighbors. Yellow marigolds lean like giggling children. Asters nod politely, their purple heads catching the breeze. Even the creeping ivy seems to smile as it wraps itself around a nearby mailbox. And when the sun dips low in the late afternoon, Shadows dance across the stones, turning each one into a glowing gem set into the earth. This isn't just decoration. It's delight. A reminder that beauty doesn't have to be serious. That gardens, too, can laugh. These rocks were once dull and gray. But through imagination, a splash of paint, and a few hours of love, they've become part of a world that welcomes both bees and children, cats and coffee cups, secrets and laughter. They ask for nothing but a glance, a moment, and maybe a smile. In that smile lives the heart of this garden. Not in the rare plants or perfect rows, but in the playful edge where paint meets petal, and trash becomes treasure. Because sometimes, the smallest surprises, like candy-colored stones by a fence, carry the biggest joy. Beneath the blaze of an autumn sky, where the garden breathes golden rust, a circle forms in the soil, quietly, purposefully, beautifully. It is a mandala, but not carved in stone or stitched on silk. It is made from hands and heart. Each painted rock is a note in nature's symphony. Burnt orange and deep red sing of falling leaves. Mustard and cream hum with the warmth of sunlight slipping through branches. Between them, dried petals and curled leaves rest gently, as if the garden itself has whispered its blessing into their shapes. This isn't a decoration. It's a meditation. Set in a quiet corner near a bamboo fence, the mandala draws the eye and calms the spirit. It does not ask to be perfect. The stones are uneven. The petals are fleeting. The colors shift with the season. But together, they create a harmony more powerful than symmetry alone, a reminder that beauty often lives in the handmade, the humble, the changing. Surrounding the design, asters and chrysanthemums bloom like guardians. A gust of wind scatters a few maple leaves across the mandala, but they don't disrupt it. They become part of it. Children pause when they see it. Adults slow their steps. Even birds seem to linger nearby. This space is sacred in its own small way. A circle made not of rules, but of rhythm. Of trash turned into treasure. Of stillness found through creation. And when the afternoon light fades, and the golden glow dissolves into soft dusk, the mandala still holds something within it, a center, a pulse, a quiet invitation. To look closer, to breathe deeper, to remember that the garden is not just a place to grow. It is a place to be. And in the heart of autumn, where everything is beginning to fall, the mandala remains gentle, glowing, grounded. In the quiet corner of a tiny patio, where pots crowd gently like friends, something beautiful has taken wing, without ever flying. A butterfly lies on the ground, born not of silk or shadow, but of stone. Each wing is a tapestry of hand-painted rocks, soft lilacs brushing into sky blues, buttercup yellows melting into pink. The body is made of darker stones, smooth and steady, grounding the entire creation like the spine of a dream. From above, the shape is unmistakable, a butterfly in full spread, its colors mimicking nature, yet unmistakably human in their care. It does not flutter, but it moves you. Around it, the garden blooms. Marigolds glow like lanterns. Purple asters reach upward like quiet praise. The breeze carries the scent of lavender and sun-warmed leaves. Bees hover, unsure if the colors are flower or fantasy. This butterfly was not bought. It was made. Its stones were once debris, kicked aside on gravel paths, buried beneath weeds, or left beside construction sites. But now, under the brush of a creative hand and the intention of love, they've become a symbol, a celebration, a patch of wonder. Children step carefully around it. Adults bend to study the details. Even butterflies, real ones, have paused to rest upon their stone twin, as if recognizing something kindred. This patch is not just a decoration. It is a pause, a moment to stop and smile, to remember that transformation is not reserved for wings alone. A patio may be small, the space may be tight, but the heart within it? Limitless. And in that heart, a butterfly of stone lies in bloom, waiting to remind every passerby. That beauty can be grounded. That joy can be handmade. And that sometimes, the most magical things, never need to fly at all. Sometimes, a garden path doesn't just lead you forward, it lifts your spirit with every step. Laid across the grass like portals to wonder, a series of rainbow stone circles brighten a tiny yard with joy that you can walk on. Each circle is formed from carefully arranged pebbles, hand-painted in full spectrum, from the deep red of falling leaves to the violet dusk of an autumn sky. Together, they become more than a path. They become a journey. With each step, color greets the eye. Beneath your feet, painted stones recall forgotten playgrounds, chalk drawings, spinning pinwheels. And yet, their presence here feels timeless, like they've always belonged among the blooms. Surrounding them, chrysanthemums stretch wide in golden pride. Sedum mounds fill in the spaces between. Purple asters, clustered near the fence, nod gently in the breeze. This is no formal garden. This is play, transformed into place. The stones were once dull, gray, lost. But now, as part of these stepping circles, they tell a new story, of rebirth, of creativity, of hands that refuse to let beauty fade. Children hop from circle to circle, laughing. Adults walk slower, savoring each hue. Pets wander along the path like it's a parade made just for them. And at the end of it all, perhaps a bench, or a hammock, or simply more blooms. Because the rainbow doesn't end. It continues in how this space makes you feel. Warm. Welcome. Awake. This is what happens when function meets fantasy. When reuse meets intention. When even the smallest stones, given color and care, can turn a patch of grass into a ribbon of wonder. And you realize then, a rainbow under your feet might just lead you home. In a garden kissed by salt and memory, the sea finds its voice again, not in waves, but in stone. Curving gently through soft earth, a spiral of whitewashed pebbles and sun-bleached shells forms a quiet center in the garden. It doesn't shout. It whispers, like the hush of tide over sand, or the wind brushing through dune grass. Each stone, hand-selected and smoothed by time, carries the hush of distant coasts. Nestled between them, bits of recycled glass shimmer in sea-green hues, catching the sunlight like pools of water after rain. Shells, some cracked, some whole, lie like secrets scattered in perfect rhythm. This is not chaos. This is order in flow. A spiral that speaks of movement and stillness in the same breath. At the heart of the spiral, a single flower blooms, an aster, delicate and bold, like a lighthouse in the center of a tide. Around it, marigolds glow like miniature suns, while creeping sedum gently follows the spiral's curve. This design wasn't built for grandeur. It was built for grounding. A place to sit, to breathe, to remember that beauty can begin with a shell, a stone, a scrap of glass once thrown away. That nature, when given space and care, will meet us halfway. It feels coastal, yes, but not touristy. It's not the beach you visit. It's the beach you carry with you. And here, in this spiral of soft light and silence, you find a kind of anchoring. Children trace the path with their fingers. Adults pause longer than expected. Even butterflies circle, confused by the stillness that somehow hums with life. This garden moment doesn't demand attention. It invites reflection. Because even far from the sea, the echo of its rhythm can still shape a garden. And even the smallest shell, placed with intention, can help tell the story of something vast. Tucked into the quiet edge of a garden, far from the rush of bloom and buzz, lies a space untouched by noise. A Zen rock garden, humble in size, vast in meaning. Here, the world slows. White gravel rakes into flowing patterns like water frozen mid-motion. Painted stones rest like thoughts, chosen not for symmetry, but for their soul. One curved, one upright, one low and wide. Each shape offers a story. This isn't about color. It's about calm. But still, there is beauty. Muted tones of rose, ash, and moss blend with the sand, echoing the fading leaves of fall. Above, a maple drops a red leaf onto the smooth surface. It doesn't disturb the peace. It becomes part of it. Beside the garden, chrysanthemums bloom like soft lanterns. Dwarf grasses sway slightly. Even the breeze here seems gentler, as if it, too, is listening. You don't build a Zen garden to impress. You build it to return. To return to center, to stillness, to something wordless that lives below the surface of busy days. In a small yard, surrounded by fences and roofs, this simple design becomes a sanctuary. Not in scale, but in spirit. Trash-painted stones, once lifeless, now hold presence. Raked lines curve around them like time itself, moving but never hurrying. A tiny bamboo fountain clicks rhythmically in the background, like the heartbeat of the garden. Children grow quiet here. Visitors soften their voices. Even the birds seem to tiptoe through the air above. This garden isn't loud, but it speaks. In rakes and rocks, in shadow and sand, and in its silence, you remember. You don't need much space to find peace, just intention, and a place to let the world go. At the entrance of a quiet garden pergola, two towers rise, not built with bricks or beams, but with care, balance, and painted stone. They are totems, but not of myth. They are made of memories. Each rock has been chosen not for perfection, but for personality. Some are round and smooth. Others are jagged, worn by time. All are painted, swirls of rust and gold, symbols of wind and water, spirals that echo fingerprints or falling leaves. Stacked high, they become more than stones. They become storytellers. Beneath the pergola's wooden beams, flowering vines spill gently downward, like nature reaching out to admire the creations below. Light dances across the painted surfaces, changing tone as the sun drifts. Shadows grow and recede, and with them, the garden shifts in mood, sometimes playful, sometimes sacred. Around the base of each totem, marigolds burn bright like torches. Purple asters hum in the breeze. Sedum glows with its soft, waxy greens. The air is warm with scent, of autumn, of earth, of quiet creativity. These totems weren't bought. They were built, over weekends, with weathered hands and open hearts. Painted from leftover supplies. Stacked by feel. Balanced by intuition. Visitors pause here. Some tilt their heads to study the patterns. Others reach out, fingers brushing smooth stone. Everyone smiles. Because these totems speak of something rare. Presence. Not fast. Not flashy. Just there. Steady. Expressive. Honest. And perhaps that's what every pergola needs, not just structure, but soul. Not just flowers, but forms that hold meaning. So now, as evening light warms the grain of the wood and the shadows stretch across the stepping stones, these rock totems stand watch, not as guardians, but as guides. Reminding us that even broken stones, with a bit of color and care, can rise into something tall, something proud, something beautiful.